Welcome to 2 cents Short of a Dollar, the show where we give our 2 cents and keep it 100. We're your hosts. That's Motiz and I'm Rue. And right now, probably the most entertaining guy in boxing, Ryan Garcia. He's back at it again, Mr. Twitter Fingers himself. But it's hard to really say anything after he backed it up in his last fight, while these tests remain inconclusive. So Ryan Garcia, and this has been brewing for a while. He's been going at Errol Spence, going at Errol Spence. I'm gonna beat you up for Derek James. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. Well, Errol actually gets on Twitter, or formerly known as Twitter, the platform X, and they go back and forth. So now the two exchange words, and Errol says, "Yeah, because you're on that stuff, we can fight at 154 to 160." And Ryan's like, "Let's do it. I'm gonna hit you so hard, your eyes gonna be crossed for the rest of your life." Takes it a little bit further, saying, "I'm DMing your girl right now," and all this stuff. But all in all, it results in a flyer coming out that says AT&T Stadium, August 10th, sold out crowd. So what do you make of this? Do you think this is realistic? Do you think this is something that we may actually see in a few months?
To be honest, I'm not sure, because on Ryan's end, I can see Ryan for sure stepping up and fighting Errol Spence. I mean, I got to go based off his past actions, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and he stepped up to the plate. He fought Javante St. Davis. He fought Devin Haney when he didn't have to. So I would definitely say he probably would go up to 154 and fight Errol Spence, especially with this whole ordeal with the drug testing and whatnot. It may be just another way to kind of keep his name out there in a sense. Not to say, of course, he may be trolling. There's a percentage that he is trolling, but I genuinely believe that a part of him definitely for sure would fight Errol Spence at 154 at the very minimum, at 150 pounds. In terms of the excessive trolling on X platform, he's definitely trying to get under Errol Spence's skin for sure. And maybe he's doing it for Derek James's sake, right? Because I think that's how it kind of initially started. So we would just have to wait and see.
Well, kind of like you said, I wouldn't doubt Ryan Garcia. And also because I think Ryan Garcia is right now, he's not in the business of like winning belts or anything. He's in the business of cashing out. And I think the drama leading up to this, the X feud, the X trainer feud with Derek James, and I think there's a lot of selling points to this fight. The not being able to make 140, maybe no huge name at 147 to fight. Of course, you have Jerron Boots Ennis, but I mean, the drama behind this would probably catapult it to a larger fight than Ryan versus Jerron Boots Ennis. But all in all, I think Ryan's kind of wilding right now. I think he's on a rampage. He's kind of wilding. Errol's a big dude. Errol's a big dude. You have never fought at 147. So to go fight a former welterweight who says he can't really make welterweight anymore. So maybe you guys do the 150 catch weight. Maybe you go all the way to 154. I know right now to him that left hook seems invincible after what it did to Devin Haney. But keep in mind, you couldn't land that left hook on Javante Davis. And of course, Javante, I would say he moves more fluently than Errol Spence. But what they do have in common is they're both southpaws, and they both have that right hand up to block that left hook. You know what I mean? And then other than that, I mean, like, don't get me wrong, Ryan put the beats on Devin, but everything kind of was a result of the downward spiral of that left hook being landed. So if you don't land that left hook, what happens? Or if you land the left hook and a bigger opponent doesn't feel it the way a Devin Haney feels it, what happens?
Yeah. And and you got Errol Spence, formerly known as the body snatcher. When he starts putting the pressure and starts moving you around and treating you like a little rag doll in the ring, it might be a problem. I think the biggest variables that plays in Ryan Garcia's favor is the fact that he has Derek James in his corner, a man that has trained Errol Spence since he was 16 years old. So that can kind of help him see exactly, Errol Spence's flaws, right? Exposes flaws. Not sure how Ryan Garcia will essentially accept those teachings, right? I don't really consider Ryan Garcia to have a high IQ. So I don't know if it's going to be as, I would say receptive to him in the ring, but we will just have to wait and see. That I'll tell you this. I'm definitely going to tune in for that fight if they fight.
Yeah. So I'll say this about Derek James, who's obviously familiar with Errol Spence. Let's say he tells Ryan all of Errol's habits. Errol does this, when he, throws the right and swings through, he doesn't pick the left up, whatever it is, right? Anything that he wants to tell Ryan. When I kind of look back at Ryan versus Devin, even though Ryan won that fight pretty clearly, in my opinion, it didn't seem like strategy. It just seemed like I had the great equalizer and you could do nothing about it. Unless that Ryan Garcia shell, unless that was the strategy, the kind of turning his back so Devin really can't hit him. Memorably, a couple times Devin hit him in the body, what appeared to have not affected Ryan at all, unless that was the strategy. Outside of that, it didn't seem like it was a strategic game plan that catapulted him to the win. It's just that, listen, I have a talent that you don't have, and that's punching power. And then you couldn't stand up to that punching power. That's what I saw in that fight. So I say that to say I'm just not sure Derek James can give him enough tips and tricks to deal with Errol Spence. And I said this in another video that we're going to put out probably shortly, right? Bud Crawford was so amazing in that fight versus Errol Spence that now people look at Errol Spence like, yo, nah, he's sweet, he's soft. If you go through any of the comments, everybody's like, yo, he's done after the car crashed, this and the third, the car crash, the Bud beating. There's a lot of people in the comments saying, yo, Ryan Garcia is going to stop Errol Spence. And it just, it sounds crazy to me just because, like I said, there are weight classes for a reason. That's a huge jump.
That is a huge jump, and I mean, I wouldn't say, and it really depends on how Errol comes to the fight, right? Because that Errol that showed up to the Terrence Crawford fight, man, like he was beatable to a lot of opponents that night. The way he looked, not taking anything away from Terrence Crawford, but the way Terrence Crawford beat that boy, man, he beat him worse than he beat Mean Machine.
Mm-hmm.
Jose Benavidez, right? Like, it's just, and this guy was the man at 147. He went and collected all the belts, right? Whereas Bud Crawford kind of held that one belt, but he went and collected majority of the other belts. No tune-up. So, we'll just have to see, but the safest option is going with Errol Spence. He's the bigger guy.
Yeah.
He got the pedigree, he got the experience. IQ wise, he's the smarter fighter. Stylistically, he got the pressure.
Pause.
So, it definitely favors Errol Spence. But Errol Spence did mention, of course, that he don't take tune-ups because he considers Ryan Garcia a tune-up. So maybe Ryan Garcia could get underneath his skin enough to have him sign the contract, because Errol Spence did fight Mikey Garcia, right, who was moving up in weight, 2 weight classes to be exact. So it's possibility that he'll fight Ryan Garcia for the check.
Yep. So in regards to Ryan Garcia and kind of moving up into weight classes, at that time at 135, I think Mikey was considered the man. So definitely jumping up weight classes is not maybe like a full-fledged, oh yeah, this is a welterweight. You know what I'm saying? But Mikey was considered the man. I don't know if undeniably at 140 Ryan has established himself as the man, maybe the biggest draw, but I think some people would still question, oh, could he beat, let's say, a Teofimo Lopez? You know what I mean? So I don't know.
That's probably the only guy that most people probably say, nah, Teo beats Ryan. But right now, according to I would say the masses, would you say the masses right now, if they had to rank the number one guy, would you think the masses, including casual, etc., in the boxing world, do you think they would put Ryan Garcia as number one, or would he be close?
I think they would, but I think that's recency bias.
Okay.
Which is a big thing, right? Which is what I think is really hurting Errol Spence, right? Is the recency bias.
Yes.
And I know he says he doesn't take tune-ups, but I think this is a big fight, right? Big payday. I think the recency bias of people saying, oh, Ryan's this, Ryan could do that, Ryan could do this. I think he can spin this one as if it's not a tune-up, right? Even though it would be a tune-up, in my opinion. He can spin it as if it's not a tune-up. It's just, yo, I just got to punish this boy for talking crazy. And I think, some people will let that slide. And then he fights Ryan Garcia. And I think what it really does for him, I still think there's questions to be answered on Errol Spence's part. A lot of people talk about that first car accident, right? But a lot of people don't talk about the next 2 car accidents. One time he was rear-ended at a stoplight. and another time a underage driver came through an intersection. So there have been 2 more car accidents after, right? And I just think about like football with your brain being rattled. And when I look around, a lot of people are saying like, yo, Errol's brain is rattled, this, that, and the third. I would assume him being now training and stuff again, I would have assumed he got any testing that he needed to answer the question that his brain is fine, right? But I think for him, some of those punches that he took from Crawford and how it impacted him, I think he has to kind of get back in there with somewhat of a big puncher. Ryan's definitely a big puncher, but I'm saying moving up in weight classes, I don't know how far that translates. So I think he has to get back in there with someone who can punch, and I think he has to gain that confidence that I can take a punch. You know what I mean? So I think he can spin this as like almost like a feud, bigger than boxing fight, but use this as an underhanded tune-up. Because I do still think, and I mentioned this in another video, I do think him and Crawford are still on somewhat of a collision course, as neither of them are able to secure that big money fight. There's some rumors of Crawford and Canelo possibly in Saudi, but I think what's happening is the IBF at 154 is vacant. There's going to be a fight for the IBF, and then Errol's going to fight the winner of that, is my understanding, what I've been hearing. So in the meantime, you take this Ryan Garcia fight as a tune-up. You see how you kind of handle speed and power, and then you go ahead, you win that, you challenge for that IBF. Let's say you win. Now you have a belt. Crawford has a belt, and I think ultimately it seems like that 54 collision course is probably back on. Like I said, the fight has died down so much, they have to do something to build it back up for people to have interest. After what people saw, the masses are not interested anymore.
Yeah. So I have a question for you. Let's say Ryan Garcia and Spence fights at 154 pounds. Who has more to lose?
Who has more to lose?
Yes.
Errol Spence. Yeah. It's not even close.
Not even close, yeah.
It's not even close. Because if Ryan goes up there and beat him, he might as well retire.
Absolutely.
Right? Because no one will ever look at Errol Spence as a viable opponent again. And then I think his challenge for, undisputed or anything is done. I think at that point, if he wants to continue fighting, people will probably just regard him as a gatekeeper, which is crazy of someone that only have 2 losses. But Errol definitely has more to lose. I don't even think it's close. But me right now, like I said, taking the recency bias out of it, just using what I think I know at least, I just can't see Ryan Garcia beating Errol Spence.
Yeah, man.
So I mean, that's pretty much all I got. If you don't have anything else, we can definitely take some comments. Of course, we appreciate the likes and the subscribes to see what's gonna come in all this. And one thing before we head out, I did see that Oscar got involved. So I think Oscar smells the money. And then once the promoter is involved, now there's a real chance that something may happen. But let's stay tuned and see.
Yep. Stay tuned, see. Like, comment, subscribe. Definitely let us know in the comment section. Do you favor Ryan in this fight against Errol Spence? Or do you think Ryan is biting off more than he can chew? So let us know.
Yep. And we out.